Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and, after watching these episodes, I was thinking about how my favorite seed place was in Accord, New York. That got me like, now everyone's putting out their seed catalog, so I better go see, I haven't gotten their seed catalog yet, but I ought to go, check out what they've got. And they have their 2022 dahlia tubers already, just there. So I'm going to have to stock up on dahlias. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, ooh, maybe the Sonic Bloom dahlia tuber? That's pretty rad. And I know you're thinking Nella, you have no room in your backyard for any more dahlias. And besides, you have to dig those ones up because they freeze during the winter. But hear me out. How else am I supposed to cover my coffin with flowers, which should be dahlias, and then yeet myself off into a Viking funeral? Hear me out. What if... just cover me with dahlias and then burn my body on a beach. Because if it's good enough for Olivia Dunham, it's good enough for me.
I had to mute my mic pretty early into that because I knew I wouldn't be able to stop from laughing. Yeah. No. That about sums up
the energy that we are bringing to this episode.
Chaos. Complete chaos.
That's the podcast, everybody. Thanks for listening. Check out our Patreon. For this episode of Binge O'Clock, for those of you who have watched Fringe, you can probably guess which episodes we're going to be talking about just based on that. But we finished season 3. We watched episodes 20 through 22 of season 3. And I don't like these episodes. I didn't like it when I watched it on TV. I basically figured when it ended, I was like, oh, and that's it. I guess that's it. I'm not watching the rest of the show. Okay, that was a fun ride. All right, great. And then they were like, and Joshua Jackson signed on for season 4. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And so then I had to watch it again.
I don't think I can comprehend
waiting a week in between.
A week in between each of these. The end of this season happening, and then thinking to myself, is one of my favorite characters just not in this show anymore?
I gotta tell you, I would have watched this and thought, oh, they jumped the shark. Okay, I'm done. I don't even know if I would have finished it.
We've had a good run. That's it.
Yeah, it's really baffling. The way everything just ramps up in these 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're not going to do a summary because honestly, a lot happens in these 3 episodes, which is why I wanted to watch them as a unit because I felt like these 3 episodes have a very specific arc. Mm-hmm. But the short version is our world is beginning to break down because Walternate has figured out he can use the blood of his grandson, which is half Peter, to get the machine started. Peter realizes, oh, wait, the machine's on the other side. Maybe I can try and turn it off. I don't know how they turned it on, but maybe I'll give it a shot. He gets zapped by the machine the first time and gets a little bit of amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Peter. And then
it's a really nasty fall in his head.
It really was.
I as a daughter of an orthopedic surgeon, I felt that in my soul, and I was like, holy storage jar. He's gonna we need to put a brace. Why is he not wearing a neck brace after that fall?
See,
he wakes up in the hospital no neck brace? Are you kidding me? Protect that vertebrae.
See, I understand why y'all don't like these 3 episodes, but the shock value of some of the scenes in these 3 episodes are what makes me kind of enjoy watching them in a terrible way. I for sure would hate watch these 3 episodes over and over again.
Danielle, I get it. They there are some choices that are incredibly dramatic and
I love it.
Super effective. I'm not saying that's not true. What I'm saying is on the whole, it feels incredibly rushed. And it feels a little, you got the Deus Ex machine. You have Sam Weiss, the great and powerful, coming out of nowhere, out of right field, with all the, in theory, answers. And I'm just and we'll get into that. I have a lot of feelings about Sam Weiss as a character coming in on the 11th hour.
As do
Even though I'm sure they sat there like, yeah, we set this up enough. No, you did not. No, you did not, writer's room. I think it's really illuminative that, though, because my instinct watching these 3 episodes was that they thought they were going to be canceled. I thought for sure. It just
because
felt rushed.
we've seen it before with other TV shows where they try to scramble to do something to like make a whole thing when they've already like known that they're pretty much done for.
At least close up like one storyline, so then at least you can walk away from it and feel like you've accomplished something. Maybe not the total end goal you hoped for, but I mean, I think about this with like Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, they constantly struggled against cancellation, and they constantly rewrote their story to just try to squeak through their foot through the door, and that's why the Book of Korra was so rushed in the first season, because they were like, well, you know what? Let's just assume we'll only get 1 season, and we're gonna write a story and put a pin on it. And then they got seasons 2 and 3 and 4, and I swear they were just like, oh no, we blew our load in the first season and we rushed some things. Let's just have a villain like a villain a season. Let's just go. Sure.
Side note, I still kind of can't watch the last couple of episodes of the first season of Korra because it still makes me so angry. Because
it's really infuriating.
They snowball in like approximately 45 minutes worth of show. Like what must have been their entire ride for like 2 or 3 seasons.
They sure did. You know what? But that's why we have Fic.
So true.
That's fine.
But moving on. But when
would these episodes,
at least
would these
this is the
episodes
story
have been effective if they were spread into, let's call it 6 episodes? Like, let's imagine the season with less filler, and then they spent, I don't know, 5 episodes on this. I'm just,
I guess it's not so much that it all happens within 3 episodes. That feels fine. The 3 episodes feel like they were yeeted out of a separate universe, dropped into this storyline universe. And then the ramp up was just like, blink.
Like Nella had this idea that they were terrified they were going to get canceled. So yeah, they tried to do a thing. And then she looked it up and she was like, oh, actually they wrote the season this way. And then just didn't change it when they got renewed for another season.
Yeah,
because
they
it was
wrote it
always
this way
supposed to
before
happen.
they knew they would get renewed. And they wrote it as this is a great hook for the next season. Like,
no, the 2 teams finally together in the room.
I find myself not giving a short jar.
Can I tell you, Danielle? We'll get to the casket in a second, but I was joking with Nella because she had such heavy feelings about this casket that I was joking that maybe Danielle doesn't even see it because she's crying too hard.
I guess also another thing is, like, I think this should have been my catnip. This should have been my nip, because like I should have been like, I love when people meet alternate versions of themselves. Like, I do it all the time in my role-playing games because I love seeing how people mess around with that. But
to be fair, we haven't even seen that yet. Not really.
No.
Like we've only
but
seen
the hint of it happening should have done it for
each other.
But like,
it's gonna be good.
Oh, well, okay. Like that I'll look forward to. I have hopes now.
You can get off this bus anytime you want. I will not force you to finish.
If you're telling me the Astrids meet, then now I have to. Now I have. No, if that's fine. You know what? You've given me my light at the end of the tunnel. The Astrids meet. Beautiful. Great.
I'm a little sad. Maybe we should put that motion on Twitter all by itself. The Astrids. I'm so sorry, listeners.
And now the universe is
see
kiss.
It. Make like the. Like the kissing duck hands.
I don't know. It
and
just
make
felt
them kiss.
It just felt kind of really flat for me. I think it's because it kind of hinges on Sam Weiss. Yeah, fine. Let's just go into it.
And I mean, they named an entire episode.
Nella has a lot.
So yes, we should spend a good amount of time on the last Sam Weiss.
So you have Sam Weiss. We introduced as this guy who helped Nina out when she was in a tough spot. And then
who came highly recommended from William Bell.
Yes. Right. Cool.
Who seemed to know things.
Right? Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Then proceeds to just be like,
Danielle's face. Danielle's just puckering anger.
An incredibly unhelpful person. And then at the 11th hour, Nina finds out Sam Weiss is connected to the First Men. Like the First Peoples, sorry. You know, Sam Weisses have been writing this stuff from the beginning, supposedly. And he's at the core of it. Or at least he's like, you know, remember that guy from The Mummy who was just like, my people have been like protecting the curse of the mummy this whole time. And like, now you're in my desert and you're messing things up. But like, I'm really hot. And I have opinions about your adventuring. Like, maybe don't. Like, we could have had that. But we could have also had a character who is just like, look, yeah, all right. I was born into this, like, I'm the 7th or 10th Sam Weiss of all these Sam Weisses, you know? We have no originality in my family. We like to keep the thread clean. And, you know, I was told what to expect. I was told what the prophecy is. But you know what? It's been so many generations, I can tell you what the words are, but I'm not really sure what they mean actually anymore. And now I'm actually looking at you. I'm looking at you, Peter, who is this figure I've always seen as being in this machine. And I see you, Olivia, who has always been the key that opens it. And now I'm like, but wait, they're people. This is weird. Like, this could have been a character dealing with, like, the metaphysical, like, what's our purpose? Why are we even here? You're all dealing with fringe science, but I'm sitting here, like, being like, yeah, but what does this mean, even? Like, I'm looking at you. You were freaking foretold for ages. Like, you are the reason I have purpose in my life, and I've been hanging out at a rinky-dink bowling rink because I'm just like, well, eventually this is going to happen, right? I mean, it didn't happen to my father. It didn't happen to my father before his father. But, like, I don't know. I guess don't get too cozy in my existence. Any day it might just end. The universes might collide. And we could have had a character who had a reckoning with that. A reckoning of, like, their own familial history and seeing the prophecy on the wall. And we don't get that at all.
How would you...
Sam Weiss could have been an actual character in season 3.
How would you
is all I'm
describe
saying.
what we did get?
Swear jar.
Useless.
See, the reason I asked Nella that question, dear listeners, is because I cannot maintain the teacher filter and describe the Sam Weiss that we did get.
So I had to say it for you is what you're getting at. Because you knew. Like Sam Weiss before, you knew this would happen. If you asked me the right question, I would give you the answer you needed.
Useless, manipulative word I cannot say. And his entire thing about how, oh, I wasn't supposed to be involved and now you've gotten me here doesn't actually make any sense when you consider the relationship he's had with William Bell, Nina, and then Olivia. If he wasn't supposed to be involved, then he shouldn't have been involved. So
he should have seen Olivia coming through the door and ran the other way if he wasn't supposed to be involved.
Ran the other way. Like, I can't get involved with this story. I'm just the keeper of secrets, you know? But instead, he inserted himself, and just...
I find myself deeply frustrated by his character. Because I also see, you know how we were like, Charlie, good, sweet Charlie, perfect Charlie, everyone needs a Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Sam Weiss's problem is that, like, through the looking glass, I can see the Sam Weiss we could have had. The Sam Weiss who joined the team, who has no freaking knowledge of any of the science stuff, but who just has these are the stories. Yes, those books. I know exactly what those books are. Surprise. You know, I don't know what to tell you. Those machine bits. You gotta look for them, but yeah, I know they exist too. The person who is reckoning with his own purpose that has nothing to do with science in a lab. It has nothing to do. It's like almost in a way the exact opposite of Walter, right? Because Walter is sitting there like, I'm a brilliant person. I did all these things and now I'm grappling with God over what I've done. And meanwhile, you have Sam Weiss is just like, oh yeah, I know you yeeted all that stuff into the past. Like, but like I was raised to kind of not question it just to know that it would come. And now I'm looking at you and like I know what the prophecy said about you, but it didn't say you ate red vines. And now I'm sitting here eating red vines with you. Which is weird when you think about it. Like, we could have had scenes like that. We could have had, like, that kind of bringing the humanity back into this, like, first peoples, aliens, the watchers, the observers.
You just had to ask the right question, and suddenly he's super forthcoming. I just don't get it. I don't understand why he's been buzzing around with all of the answers, not saying anything, until now, when all of a sudden he has a lot to say.
Back to that point with Olivia where she's just like, well, you know what? I've got a gun. I think that scene is really like, that's what made me go, that's a Sam Weiss we could have had. Because that's where he kind of admits, like, his answers aren't really even answers. Mm-hmm. Because this is not how it was explained to him. And now it's happening, and it's not quite happening the way he imagined it.
So the reason he jumps in all of a sudden is because it's not, the machine is not supposed to be breaking our world down that drastically. It's not supposed to be turned on from the other side, right? Like, that's the story goes is Peter walks into the machine on our side. He's the one who starts it. Mm-hmm. But he was not prepared at all for the alternate universe to start the machine.
No, wait, the story is that Peter gets to decide which machine to walk into. That's right, because if Peter had chosen
Peter gets to
Olivia,
decide. Peter gets to decide which universe survives. But at some point, Sam Weiss says, "No, you don't understand. They were never supposed to be the ones to turn on the machine. It was supposed to be Peter here in our world." So that's where he's like looking at reality breaking down, and he's like, "This is entirely wrong." And that's when he starts questioning his own.
See, I understood it as that Peter has to be in the machine, and the fact that Peter is not in the machine and this is started is what throws Sam Weiss off. But we still could have had
he's
that
supposed
realization.
to be in the machine in our world, and the machine is turned on in the alternate universe, and Peter is here.
But what if Peter had chosen for Olivia? Then he
would still be in the machine.
He would be in the machine. He would be on the other side, and then the other side would survive. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, so hence why it comes down to it's not that Peter has to be in the machine on our side of things. It's that Peter has to be in the machine for it to start.
I think
started.
It's the way. I think it's because of the way he said it, because he knew Peter had already chosen our side.
Exactly.
Because he was with Olivia. So like either way, it doesn't really matter. But like the words he says is Peter was supposed to start it. Because Peter's supposed to be in the machine and he's not.
So he's having kind of having that same feeling, I think, that Nina had, where, you know, she cracked her favorite beverage, whatever that beverage was supposed to be, right? Bless. She had her celebratory moment. She thought, great, everything's good, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And everyone, because of evil Brendan. Because of evil Brendan.
Because he had the idea. I do also, I think, to add to your, like, I think a nice addition to Sam Weiss, like, I mean, it's the same problem we've discussed before with Astrid, right? Like, you put Astrid there, you don't really know what you're using her for. She's just kind of like emotional support when she could have been a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's just kind of a go fetch person. And I think even at one point in the show, she's just like, I went to Quantico, and then she goes and fetches him something. Like, it's, Sam Weiss is the same way. They put Sam Weiss in there, and they didn't really know what to do with him. And I think what would have been more interesting is if you had something else happen where Sam Weiss had to decide if he was going to actually steer the course.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing at the end is like, I got involved and I wasn't supposed to. Now, the funny thing about that is he actually technically still didn't get involved because Peter never talked to Sam Weiss. So Peter was the one to decide everything anyway. Like, that's what's frustrating to me, because it's like, wow, thanks for introducing this super interesting character at the 11th freaking hour who actually didn't help at all. He doesn't actually, like, he never talks to Peter. Peter and him never have a conversation. Like,
I feel like Sam Weiss was the character that, like, he's the friend in the role-playing game that, like, sent you a really, really, like, involved backstory, you know? And you got super excited about the story that you would, like, involve Sam Weiss in. And then your friend, like, things happen and you couldn't really cancel the sessions because, like, there were too many other people playing. So, like, Sam Weiss sort of becomes more of an NPC. But then at the end, Sam Weiss still has to come in because you built your whole story around it, and then you're sitting there realizing you've made a huge mistake.
I mean, maybe. Well, like, so
because now Sam Weiss is just the human equivalent of a treasure map.
No, he's a sexy lamp MacGuffin.
He is.
You could replace Sam Weiss with a sexy lamp, and would we really, really lose
Would
anything?
we ever really know?
Sexy lamp.
I don't know, man. Sexy lamp works.
Bowling ball.
The original point I was actually trying to make before I sidetracked my own self because I got mad about it was that if you were going to make Sam Weiss an actual character, I think a niche he could have fit in was something like he gets too involved too quickly and he has to personally make himself step back.
Yeah.
Because,
wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be like dramatic and emotional and like appropriate or something for what the show is doing with people and relationships?
He gets really friendly with Olivia kind of by accident. Like that's, like maybe that's why he brings over the board game and has board game night. And it's like, I am overstepping a line. And
now your problem is if that was what Sam Weiss was like, now I ship it. and now we have a triangle and I don't like that.
I mean,
which we solved by making it a throuple.
Wanted us to have a triangle.
Okay, I would if Sam Weiss was the character that you all have constructed for him and not the Sam Weiss in the show.
This is why we have fandom. This is why we have
that. I like that triangle better than the Olivia, Peter, Lincoln.
Right?
John.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like it better than that. Much better.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell John was. Poor John.
Because then you have to imagine Sam Weiss as like the messy third wheel who's just like, I shouldn't even be here. This is not for told. Like, what am I doing? I'm gonna take my Scrabble and go. And they're just being like, but you're being helpful. Like, why do you refuse to be helpful? And he's like, I don't know, it's complicated, and he runs away.
I can't be in this room anymore.
You described an anime character. We're watching a live action show. He can't be an anime character.
I would like him much better as an anime character, for being honest. No, I mean, look, like, I know there are going to be people listening who are just like, but that's not the character. I'm like, yeah, because he wasn't a character. Sam Weiss was fundamentally never a character. He was a plot device.
Exactly. And that's my point. Like, this is also why Astrid is so frustrating. This is also why, like, the Lincoln in our universe is not frustrating, but also not utilized as well as he could be.
He's brought in as a teaser because, like, we've seen the alternate universes of everyone. They had to bring in Lincoln for one episode just so then you could be like, oh, that's where he's at. That's why. And you know what? It's a nice teaser. For all of the nonsense this show does, that's the one I appreciate on the higher scale than less so.
Good. I mean, look, I like our Lincoln. I prefer our Lincoln.
Yeah,
but I think we have scrimmed about Sam Weiss enough. He could have been a contender, but he wasn't.
I pour this one out for the Sam Weiss that could have been. He could have been messy. He could have been fun. He could have tried to not get involved, but they could have kept reeling him in like a fish on the line. He could have had a scene with Astrid. Could you imagine? He could have ate red vines with Walter.
He could have ate red vines with Walter.
He could have been my little black suit next to my little black dress. But no. Instead, you made him a sexy lamp, and for that, I curse you.
What, like the character, the writers of this show?
The writers of this show.
That wrote the show 10 years ago, you curse them?
I leave it up to them to decide. But if their ears are burning this night, so be it.
May your red vines always taste like Twizzlers.
Oh! Boom. I've never actually had a red vine, so I don't know what they taste like.
They're close. Red vines are meatier. Twizzlers are a little more plastic. Yes, trust me to have. This has been your candy corner with joy.
See, this is why this is her job, because I'm just like, candy. I guess that exists.
And then we both our Venn diagram overlaps with ice cream, and that's fine.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm. She has the vegetables, I have the candy, and then we both come together for ice cream.
See, the thing is, the way you started that sentence, I thought you were going to come up with a food in which vegetables and candy would be combined.
See, I'm trying to think of what candy you can make from brassicas, but even I don't think I can do that.
Look, I'm sure there's
like-
vegetable ice cream. I'm just not interested in it.
Or vegetable gummy bears or something like that.
I've made you basil ice cream.
You have, actually, and it's really, really tasty. I highly recommend basil ice cream to anyone who's interested.
Come on down to my house. I'll make you basil ice cream. That's what I do.
I mean, do you want to just jump to the next rant, which I know is going to be that casket?
Well, should we talk about the gray universe first?
Oh,
Yes.
the gray universe? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because we can't get to the casket without talking about the gray universe,
Yeah.
which is episode 22.
Nella clocked it. It is supposed to be 2022, right? Is it supposed to be 2026? 2026?
I thought 2026.
You know, I think there was something up with my TV because I literally paused on the moment where Peter is looking at the giant 9/11 memorial, and I could not read the year on it.
Oh. No,
Well, that
it's
one said
2026,
2021.
though.
That one
Yeah.
said
It said
2021. But I
Oh.
think, yeah, the characters at some point were talking about the year being 2026.
I mean, according to the official Fringe
Yeah,
wiki, it's 2026, so.
2026.
Okay, all right, very near future.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be approximately 13 to 15 years throw into the future. But yeah,
Right. And this happens, should I just very quickly summarize?
Please.
This happens because, like, picking up where Joy left off, the machine has been turned on in the red universe, and Peter realizes if he has the power to turn the machine on, he should have the power to turn it off. But first, Olivia, the crowbar, has to open the force field. So, it involves Sam Weiss and a museum. The end result is Olivia successfully opens the force field. Peter steps into the machine. There are actually some pretty great character moments, I think, as Peter is stepping into the machine,
Yes.
which we can talk about later if we want. And the episode cuts. All of a sudden, Peter wakes up on a street. It looks semi-apocalyptic. There are fires everywhere. People are running around, and the military is out in the streets. And that's the universe we're in now. Gray universe.
The gray universe. Yeah, we got that opening, that gray opening, and Nella was like, "Oh no, the gray universe! Here we go! Oh no!" And the difference here is, it's like we said, about 13 to 15 years in the future. Assuming a future where Peter destroys the other universe, and in theory, I guess Walternate was able to come over, and maybe a couple other people. Like, that's
I have
just weird to me,
questions
but
about
whatever.
that, but whatever.
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 And since it's the future now, everyone has different roles, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
Walter was actually put on trial and then thrown in prison for his crimes. So Walter is just in prison. Since Astrid was no longer tethered to Walter, she's able to, quote, spread her wings, and she's an actual Fringe agent who goes out into the field now.
Yes.
People still leave garbage on her desk because
Yeah.
people
Because
suck.
of course they do. Ella is a fresh-faced Fringe agent.
Yep.
It is a little throwing off because their logo is very similar to the alternate universe.
Yes,
and I was like,
I thought
why
that
would you
too.
decide to do this?
Yeah.
I
Why
guess
were you
they
like,
thought it looked cool?
These people
I
who
don't know.
almost killed us, let's just steal their logo.
I'll allow for, like, it's too horrifying to think you've actually destroyed and like, I think it's that place of, like,
In honor?
No, it's a weird, yeah, you know what? It's that weird place of, like, we were them in the end, you know? Like, they were just doing what we ended up doing. So, like,
Yeah.
why not use their logo, I guess?
I guess
Such-
Olivia's the boss of Fringe, which is kind of fun.
It's kind of
Yes.
amazing and bizarre, and I love it. But the
Broyles is a senator.
yeah, the crux of our universe is that things have started to break down since Peter did that to the other universe. And at first it started in slow ways, but like, you know, we keep putting Band-Aids on the problem because essentially our world is dying. And now we have a wormhole in Central Park. And we were actually watching this with a friend of ours who was just like, how on earth are there still people in New York City with a wormhole in Central Park? And I was like, you have to remember, it's been 15 years of increasing events. And also us New Yorkers after this pandemic have proven that we're just like, oh, yeah, there's a wormhole in Central Park. Whatever,
well,
no big.
I mean, I got my booster. So, like, hopefully I don't get the long COVID. Maybe it'll just be sniffles. Like, I don't know,
you
man.
know, there's a wormhole in Central Park, but I heard that brunch in the West Village is still on, so.
I know,
Yeah, exactly.
So, you just,
But you know, the R train is still running, so I guess we're good. Amazing.
And I think, like, the weirdest part about the beginning of the episode is that you think that Peter's going to play this very fish-out-of-the-water character, and instead, I don't know, hours into his time in the Gray universe, his brain just kind of catches up. Yeah. And
well, it's like he takes on the consciousness of the Peter that exists there.
Exactly. He becomes the Peter that existed in the Gray universe, the Peter who's been married to Olivia for years and makes her breakfast and wants to have 2 to 3 babies with her. And
yeah, bless.
It's really cute. Their domestic life is really beautiful. I think Olivia mastering her telekinesis powers was really great.
Oh, yeah. What a good bit that is.
I love it so much. The BS on that is perfect.
See, I liked a lot about the Gray universe because it was, I don't know, I guess it fulfilled a lot of things that I would have wanted to see for these characters. Like, it was almost a nice happy ending, with the exception, of course, of their world being near destruction.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is they, as Walter realizes, the 2 universes are, what's the word he uses for it? He keeps using the same word over and over again. It's not entangled, and it sounds very much like it.
See, all my brain could come up with is counterweights. Like
the long and short of it is, if the other universe dies, this universe dies too.
Yeah,
yeah. And they're for lack of a better term, they're just intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you cannot save one and hurt the other.
Yeah.
You cannot save one by hurting the other, which is how I meant to say that.
I love that they established that. I love the idea that, like, there's a gravity to these 2 universes that, like, if you knock one off base, if you destroy one, you get yeeted off into the sun. Like, it's not good. You know, there is a fundamental weight to both of them.
No, I love that these 2 I love the idea that the multiverse sustains itself because of the other universes next to it. You know, and like it's an unbroken chain of events that is an unbroken chain of events, but just so happens to be all connected to the same, like, little nug of the universe being created. You know, at the center of the multiverse is a chicken McNugget. You're welcome. It's the chicken McNugget that God decided not to eat, and then it splintered off into a bunch of different universes.
And now, unfortunately, their world is terrorized by someone named Moreau, and it's revealed that Moreau isn't the real terrorist Walternate is. Because before Walternate's universe was destroyed, he crossed over into this one and then was trapped, and now he's on a revenge mission.
Like 15 years later after the thing.
I am sitting here dying that freaking Denethor and Wormtongue roll up on the universe just like, well, I guess we're burning it down, baby. Like, I was dying at this weird Lord of the Rings,
we had a lot of Lord of the Rings
feelings. Because Brad Dourif plays Moreau, and I'm just like, he showed up and I was like, I know those attack eyebrows. That face, it's my son, Brad Dourif.
My precious son, who always plays all my favorite characters. Look at him go. I also love that he understood the assignment, and he was just I know exactly the kind of person I need to be for this. He's only in like 2 or 3 scenes, but I love him. I love him to bits. Always good to see that guy.
So good.
But yeah, Nella was like, somebody needs to get Walternate a messy cherry tomato.
He I think many things in this show and not that.
My exact quote, actually, because I wrote it down, was...
It was very good.
Oh, go eat a cherry tomato in a disgusting manner, Waldernate.
Yes.
Instead of putting together this whole elaborate 15-year-long revenge plot, I don't know why it took him so long, because the actual bait and switch, when he finally pulled it off, was pretty well done. You know, he lures Peter out to Raiden Lake because villains always gather in places that are close to their hearts. And he convinces Peter that he's actually sitting in the room when in fact it's a hologram of him. Mm-hmm. He's in Central Park at the wormhole where he's lured Olivia. And as Olivia walks out of a van, he shoots her point blank in the head.
Yep.
And there's no "you caught me monologuing" moment that villains so often get caught in. He just does it, and so she dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it took him 15 years to do that, but it did.
You think he would have picked up gardening in the interim, but whatever. Like,
first of all, the writers wrote it that way, so I don't know, who knows. But also, like, there's a second of all, which is, I think Walternate's the type of villain to try and wait and see if they're at their most happiest, but also most, like, relaxed.
Oh,
and that's hard to do in a world that's breaking down, and that the people you're trying to get revenge on are the people tasked with making the world not break down.
What he underestimated was that we're millennials and we're never really happy. You see.
He kept waiting for them to be truly happy so that he could have it turn to ash in their mouths, and then it never happened.
Yeah. It took him 15 years for these millennials to finally be able to afford to buy a house and think about having kids, and then he killed them.
Nella and I were trying to figure out, we were like, is Ella a millennial? Because she has that line about, like, I don't remember what life was like before the bad things were happening.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that super sad mirror moment where she says there are just no happy endings.
I know.
And it's the exact opposite of the Ella and the Brown Betty episode, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
That was me. I was in my couch like, no, Ella. And that's when Nella was like, is she a millennial? I feel like she's a millennial. And I was like, oh no, actually, I think she's Gen Z. It's even sadder.
This does, though, Nella, lead us to Olivia's funeral.
Which is a very sad moment. And, we were all feeling sad. The weight of it. And
I remember the very first time I watched this show, because Olivia's powers were finally under control, because she was finally telekinetic, I was like waiting for that Wolverine moment where she pushes the bullet out of her head and magically she heals and is like, ha ha, you thought you got me. And it didn't happen.
I know. It happens so quickly. There's a lot of, as you were saying, Danielle, about, like, the highly dramatic moments in these episodes. Like, there's a lot of really fast trauma that hits you very quickly. Like, the first time Peter falls off that platform, there's, like, this desperate, like, Peter, that Walter says, which just, like, broke my heart so hard. And then it smashes to commercial, and I'm like, oh, what just happened? And, like, the same thing happens when Olivia gets shot in the head, and it's like, and then it cuts to commercial, and I'm like, no, wait.
Yeah. Let me sit in the trauma.
You let me sit in the trauma this whole time, and now you've decided to play this game with my heart. No, but so the funeral is a very sad scene, and we were very solemn watching it. And then, so I forget, I can't remember who said it first, but it was just like, well, are they, like, throwing our ashes into the ocean? Because they're on a beach. And it's like, why are they on a beach?
Why are we doing this at night? Why are we on a beach? This is weird. And then it pans out. And it's very short. But it was enough for me to see that they had on, like, a floating dock a small wooden pier, in the center of which nestled not a body wrapped in a shroud, an actual, factual from the viewing storeroom in the funeral home with brass handles coffin. And I lost it. I lost it.
She stood up and made me pause it to go on like a 10-minute rant about how dumb this was.
All right, first things first. As of the recording, to the best of my knowledge of this episode, there are only 2 spots in Colorado where you can legally burn people's remains outside.
Oh.
Only 2. So
yeah,
there's
it's
that.
not, it was, I forget when it was outlawed, but it was,
Look, there's a lot of good people trying to do very good work about, like, how to have a funeral for a person in a way that is meaningful for the family and for themselves, but which is also respectful to the human body. You know, I think it's in Washington State where now, in theory, you can be you can be made into compost. I was reading that Archbishop Desmond Tutu was actually looking at like an aqua cremation, which I'm fascinated by how that works. That sounds great. Where it's pretty much you liquefy the body. I'm like, well, how does this work?
How?
I
With
have to look into it, but it's like it's way better than cremation because it's way less carbon. And I was just like, good on you. I need to look up more into that. That sounds fantastic. And as of like March of this year, there was a movement to legalize open air cremations in Maine. Mm-hmm. So you can, in theory, have a Viking funeral, right? The Viking funeral, in collective thought, being you put the body on an open air and you burn it on a pyre. Or you put it in a boat with a bunch of stuff and then you push it off into the water and then it burns down. Here's the problem with Viking funerals in the modern landscape. Because archaeology. When you push a body into a boat on the water, it's only going to burn to the water line. And just based on the height of the pier they put the coffin, not even the body, the coffin onto, you're not burning crap, and that coffin is sinking to the bottom of whatever body of water you're yeeting it off into, and then I hope you locked the coffin, otherwise it's going to open and you have a Lydia of Dunham floating in the middle of, I don't know, Long Island Sound or something, wherever, Cape Cod. So, name body of water here. Baffling choice to me. Truly, hilariously baffling.
For a show that is completely about science.
Completely about science, I say,
quotes,
with giant air quotes.
Not knowing how to burn a body seems a little bit of an oversight. In my, what I can remember from my 10-minute rant, I don't know, I kind of blacked out.
I mean, to be fair, the first thing you thought of was like, first of all, that's not the right coffin for that.
No. It is brass handles.
It is not.
It had brass handles.
It has brass handles.
It has brass
Why?
handles. It was literally, like she said, like a showroom coffin, where like obviously this was taken from some other set, where it was just like, you know, props department was like, this is what we got, man. When really you should have just, like, you could have wrapped a dummy. You could have put a pine box on there. Like,
yes.
Pine box would have been better. You could have had
that's the thing to do.
Contractors construct something.
Want to know what it felt like? It felt like, so you know how, like, in original Star Trek, they would write episodes around, like, what they could, like, steal out of other backlots from other shows and stuff. And they'd be like, oh, well, you know what?
Let's do a gangster episode.
You know what? Bonanza's right down the way. Let's just do a Western episode.
Let's do a Western episode.
Fine.
Let's do it.
Great.
I love that.
This felt like the opposite, where, like, someone in the props department was just like, are they a Viking funeral? Are you kidding me? You know what? Just grab the coffin from, like, The Wire or something. I don't care. I don't get paid enough for this.
That's literally what it was. It was so weird.
I love the idea that there is a beleaguered props manager.
There's always a beleaguered somebody working back there.
I'm like, And, she's not wrong, because all I could think about was like, oh my God, that coffin's been lacquered.
Yeah.
It's been like, it's not, like...
That is the kind of coffin that is meant to preserve the body, that you put in a vault.
Yes.
That is not and then we burn it coffin. Maddening. This is maddening to me.
Yeah, this was your 10-minute rant. Well, to be fair, that was like the first 2 or 3 minutes. And then it became, but you can't even burn bodies at sea. And I was like, look, I would suspend disbelief for like, I don't know, maybe something happened and we're out of, like we're not cremating anymore for reasons, blah, 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 and the world is ending, whatever the hell.
And then the cops show up because you're illegally like distributing a human remains. And they're like, I'm sorry, it's just maddening to me. Like, this isn't how it works. We do not do Viking funerals. And even if we did Viking funerals, like with giant quotation marks, you're not going to put them on a boat in the middle of the water because, again, like, you would have to stack the pyre so high. You would need someone there from the funeral home being like, all right, so she weighed how much? And what was her fat body content? Okay, so we're going to need this much dry wood stacked up. We're going to put these accelerants in the wood as well to make sure that the body is completely cremated before it sinks into the water. What's the temperature like? Okay, great. We'll keep that in mind. Oh, there's a wind factor. Ooh, it's whitecap condition. We're going to have to push the funeral because we don't want it to capsize. We want to make sure the body is burned in completion. We don't want what happened in Quebec in like 2021 where, they washed on shore. It's really unfortunate. The heart was calcified. They kept it in a desk for the rest of their life. And now I'm just talking about Mary Shelley. It's fine.
You did say 2024.
I mean, then it became Mary Shelley. So my brain was like,
did you travel into the future to Quebec?
I don't know. I was just making things up. But except for Mary Shelley. They did try to burn Percy's body on the shore once they found him because that was an example of, oh no, wow, he drowned to death and we found him a little late and we can't take him back to England, so we should probably burn his body here because Italy is telling us we have to. And then for some weird reason, his heart didn't burn, it calcified. And then some dude tried to grab it and it wouldn't even, like, they had to fight the dude to give it to his own freaking wife.
That's one of my weird favorite stories about Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley was like, why are you fighting me on taking, like...
He's my husband. He's my heart.
Husband. I am entitled to his calcified heart.
I'm keeping it in my desk drawer for the rest of my life, thank you.
It's just so fascinating to me. It's just like the most gothic
so
thing
now
I've
I'm just
ever heard
imagining like, Peter being like, I'm sorry, she was my wife. I'm keeping her calcified heart in my desk drawer for the rest of my life.
It's like what Raven said about Mary Shelley of like, I know you won't grow up to be the most goth. And yes, she was the most goth. The most goth to ever goth. But anyway...
It's just so and like
so this Viking funeral I'm imagining with its tiki torches
with a freaking tiki torch. I'm imagining the poor funeral director who's just like
Danielle.
Yes, and
Danielle's
now it's
eyes got so small
to have like
just like how dare you
like Viking funerals again. But here's how they work actually. In fact, you know what? How it should be is like it's a metal boat that you sort of like push out in the water on a long string, and then you could pull it back in and like sift through like the ash and grind down the bones, and then it's just like, and now you can dump in the water because like the last thing you need is like a femur head. Some kid finding a femur head. It's very embarrassing. Like, come on.
I'm sure all the morticians who ever watched Fringe were like, no.
There we go. Ask a mortician. Has she done an episode about this Fringe episode? Because I need to find out. Like,
I don't know. You could drop her that line, man, and just be like, dear
Caitlin, could you please let me know if you have seen the travesty that is episode blah 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 of Fringe season 3? I have opinions and I feel you will too. Loves and kisses, Nella. I've only met you once.
You don't need to watch the entire episode. You can watch the 4 minutes they spent on this devastating major character death.
Yes.
Yes, no context needed. Absolutely none. Crabsolutely not.
I'm sure she's done an episode about Viking funerals and like.
Oh, I'm sure she has. No, that I would
require.
believe 100%.
Okay, I found the word.
Yes.
The word was inextricable.
It's a good word.
The two worlds are inextricable. And the reason I found that is because that's what Peter tells them right at the end of the episode. Because we have like 6 minutes to wrap this up.
Okay.
And can we explain the solution to this season in 30 seconds? What Walter realizes in the midst of the grief in the morning after Olivia has died is that this is all a giant loop. And the wormhole in Central Park is the way the bits of the machine ended up in whatever period.
Paleozoic, whatever the hell.
In the Paleozoic period, because they broke up the machine and they sent it back. And Walter's like, well, I did that. It's a fixed point in time, so we can't stop ourselves from sending back the machine, but we can somehow change your memory in the past.
Change the choice you made is what it comes down to, but still,
yes, but
it's a little
by having him in the past remember what had exactly
by sending his consciousness into the future, which is technically, I guess, what the machine actually does.
So they do it.
So they do it, and then Peter wakes up and goes,
"They do it.
You're alive!" Because he sees Olivia.
We cut to the end of the previous episode, right? Mm-hmm. It cuts to the end of the previous episode. Peter wakes up with all of his memories of the gray universe, explains to them that the universes are inextricable, and then uses the machine. But instead of destroying the other world, he opens up doorways between the two of them, a bridge on which the two teams can collaborate. Yes. Then the two teams are in the room together. Astrid and Astrid have not met yet, but they will
soon.
Nella,
my body's ready.
And as soon as our favorite optimist Peter starts getting really hype about how they can work together to fix, he disappears.
And then the observers are outside watching the Statue of Liberty like a bunch of creepers. And one of the observers turns to our boy, September, and says, "Oh, you're right. They don't remember him." And he just kind of smirks and they look back at the statue.
Yes, and he says,
he never existed.
So September says now that he's served his purpose, I guess, he never existed, which I don't really think makes sense to me.
I can't wait for season 4 to explain who erased him from the timeline. Like, who did this? Who did it? Like, did he do it? Like, through the machine, and he was just like, he made unconscious, conscious choice to, or did the mighty God come down and go, oh, I'm sorry, let me just erase that. I'm just gonna.
You close the loop, and this is where you exit the train. Right?
Okay.
You are no longer...
I love that we've entered the part of the podcast where Danielle no longer remembers what happens and Nella doesn't know what happens.
I'm sure it'll be nonsense.
And now I'm the only one who has to keep her face relatively neutral this whole time.
No, look, I'm sure they'll come up with some stupid reason why Peter comes back.
They always do.
I would love to find out what the stupid reason is, how he got erased. Because that's what I'm missing from watching these 3 episodes. What actually erased Peter from the timeline?
Sure.
Yep.
So, and I guess that's it.
One more thing.
Sure.
They better be quick.
One more things. Wait, I have mine. I have very fast one more things. When we're in 2026, I actually wrote down bold of you to expect Sprint to still be Sprint in 2026.
That was a deep cut.
It's a deep cut. But they did have the fold phone sideways, which actually T-Mobile currently has in 2021. So I was like, hey, look at you.
Oh, it's funny.
My one more thing is that I love Peter's solution. The option 3 was making the universes kiss.
Yes.
That's my shipper. Peter's a shipper. He ships it.
Peter's a shipper.
Peter ships
my moment is Broyles' face when he looks at Peter and says, "You want me to move our machine 100 miles and over water and park it offshore from the most densely populated city in the country?"
That was a good Broyles moment.
Great Broyles moment. Loved his face.
That whole scene.
I just...
that whole scene, it was so good. I also love Walter walking in while Broyles is on the phone with his his experiment in hand. His
yep.
Let me show you this practical demonstration.
His two magnets and his iron fillings. This show is very good with its demonstrations. I do enjoy the Bill Nye-ness of them.
It's very good at showing me how the science works, because I don't always know, and I appreciate the illustration. I think
how the very few little bits of real science in this show work.
It's the very few actual physics that they show us. But yes, I think that just about covers it.
Yep. I agree. Can't wait till we watch the beginning of season 4.
Woo!
Hold on to your butts.
In the mean. Hold on to your butts. Okay, listeners. Between now and then, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, what is your favorite body of water? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.